Why you do that? Get me out of here. What you mean they do that?
Oh my God.
Wow. Look at this shit.
This is not justice that they're looking for. This is destroying things.
All right, so welcome to Random Thoughts of Your Highness. Smoking on that orange sherbet. So we had a little curveball before I decided to do this because apparently I was going to report on the NBA boycott and give them props for all that, you know, but you can't speak too soon when you see celebrities make moves. Now let me just clarify something. First of all, subscribe and all that good stuff. Follow on Twitter. Comment, like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff, man. Let me know what's on your mind, what you're thinking about this. All right. So let's just say it like this, because I've said this before plenty of times, and I still hold, you know, it still holds true to me that when you see celebrities making certain moves or making certain statements that are in support of protest and movement for justice, applaud them for that. That doesn't mean that you look to them for leadership. It doesn't mean that, you know, they are the movement. Because a lot of times, you know, because of certain circumstances, they might be fickle. They may change directions. But you use the momentum anytime, because anytime you see that happening, understand that that's a reflection of those of us on the underground, grassroots. Not just the content creators, but those who share, like, comment, have their thoughts that they put out. Everybody now is a media source. So when we're showing how we feel and expressing ourselves and sharing information, then of course those in celebrity status with high influence see these things. And of course, they feel like we feel when they see those killings, because that could be them. Because LeBron James is a superstar on the court, but he may be a threat in plain clothes if you don't recognize him and you just see a big 6 foot whatever muscular dude in a hoodie. You know what I mean? Getting pulled over in a car, he may look like a threat if they don't recognize him, right? So when we see these kind of things, there's a delicate balance between supporting them when they're supporting our message, because if they're echoing the sentiments that we have, we could use that as leverage the same way the media or politicians will use one of ours for leverage, even if they don't like them, because they're saying a message that they want to relate to us. That's how they use Kanye West. That's how they use these David Clark Coons from Milwaukee. That's how they do it. They don't have to like them, but they like what they're saying, and they'll use that to propel their narrative, and that's how we have to play the game now, right? So it's unfortunate that they did decide to resume playing after just one day, but I suspect what happened was, even though publicly all the owners of the NBA and the commissioner and all that kind of stuff, they supported the movement, but they had a little backdoor meeting like, hey, blah, 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 because they didn't want to mess up that money. Now, what our job is, those of us, who like to use our voice or who are on Twitter and the other social media sites, what we do now is we hold their feet to the fire. The NBA and all the players that apparently have switched directions. We let them know that that is not cool. We don't support that. That they're not going to play games with the movement. They're not going to play games with justice. You just seen what happened. That's just one clip from the dude who came all the way from another state to protest the protest. So we have to stand solid on the square, because what that NBA boycott could have done or was going to do was amplify and keep the momentum of this justice movement that started a long time ago, but really accelerated with the death of George Floyd. And we have to keep that pressure up, because obviously it's not changing fast enough. Yeah, we're seeing certain things, done. We do have momentum. We still have the upper hand overall. If we continue to push, they're still protesting all over, even though it's not being covered. They're still protesting in Seattle, downtown. They're still protesting in Portland. Still protesting in the Midwest in some places. So we can't stop this movement because we're tired of taking losses. And yes, we accept any kind of help or redistribution of our sentiments through celebrities, because that helps put it on a bigger platform. But they don't lead the movement. They only can assist with their voice. And when they go astray, we hold them to the fire. And that's what it is. So this is what, I originally was going to report on. Let's go ahead and do this, man. Oops.
Been here too many times before. Another senseless shooting of an unarmed black man at the hands of police. And while the protests following the death of George Floyd seem to push things in a new direction, Jacob Blake's shooting reminds us that there's still so far to go. And the players and coaches in the NBA are once again speaking out against police brutality. But are they set to respond with a boycott? In a post-game interview on Monday, Lakers star LeBron James stated that black people in America are afraid. He also drove home the point that there were several ways to detain Blake without firing a gun.
If you're sitting here telling me that there was no way to subdue that gentleman, or detain him, or to just before the firing of guns, then you sitting here, you lying to not only me, you lying to every African American, every black person in the community.
Los Angeles Clippers coach Doc Rivers also reflected on Blake's shooting in a post-game interview and got emotional, talking about how black people continue to love America, even though the country doesn't seem to love us back.
We're trying to get them to protect us, just like they protect everybody else. I didn't want to talk about it before the game because it's so hard, to just keep watching it. That video, if you watch that video, you don't need to be black to be outraged. You need to be American and outraged.
And even though the league is fed up with how police officers are handling encounters with black Americans, talks of a response in the form of a boycott is, quote, something that's in the back of our minds, as stated by Boston Celtics guard Marcus Smart. It was reported on Tuesday that Jacob Blake underwent surgery and is now paralyzed from the waist down. This development comes days after Blake was shot in the back 7 times by Kenosha County police officers while in front of his young children. As this story continues to develop, we will keep you updated. For HipHollywood.com, I'm Vanessa Barnett.
All right, so as you can see, the NBA was poised for a boycott. A lot of other major sports team also decided to get in on it and postpone or delay the season. And that's a good thing. See, that's something that we really need for several reasons. So the way things are geared and heading, it's really in our favor. There's going to be hiccups, and this is one of them. So this movement got derailed, but we got to get it back on track. And the way we get it back on track is by voicing our opinions, letting them know that we will not support a league that's going to do a false start like they really are down with the movement. They should be outraged. Everybody should be outraged. And there's only 2 ways to really respond to injustice. And both ways are both power. You have to show the power of your economics or the power in your ability to defend and pull up in fact fashion, along with the protesting. So everybody's, it's not justice to burn down stuff. Listen, it ain't justice to destroy buildings. Well, it's not justice to destroy people's lives, innocent people's lives. So take that, hold that L for your business, ma'am. Hold that L for the loss of products, because you can recover that. You can't recover a life. This man is paralyzed now. We're seeing people gunned down almost every day. And enough is enough. But the movement is not with the celebrities. Yes, we can use them as a battery to energize the movement and to spread more light on the cause, but they're not the movement. We are. Understand that. So there's really no reason to feel like we need people in high status to change shit. We don't need the president to change shit. We have to be that change. We have to continue to keep our foot on the gas. That means with the social media. That means with the street protests. That means with politics, local politics, policy and law changes. Every option should be on the table, and whatever you're proficient in or have a passion in, that's what you do. You don't discourage other people from doing what they do. Because this, it's life or death. It's nothing short of that. That's what it is. We're seeing people shot down every day that don't deserve to be shot. That if they weren't black, they wouldn't be shot. Because that white boy, 17-year-old, who came all the way, just picture this. He came from another state to protest against people who are protesting about an innocent man being shot. And then he kills 2 people and gets police protection. And gets right-wing, whatever, media people saying it was self-defense. And let me just say this to y'all that, anybody that hears this, when you decide to go out there to protest and confront people who are anti the protest, be prepared to take it, push it to the line. Protect yourself. There's no way a mob of people should have been endangered by one dude. Somebody should, de-arm that cat. When you see that kind of situation, subdue and take that weapon away. Make them fight you heads up. Because they don't want the smoke like that. But that's how it has to be, because the only thing that moves power is power. So the push-up has to be proficient. And that's why we need the INFACT and the new Black Panther parties and the other armed defense mechanisms for our community. That is a necessary. Very, very necessary. And anyone who speaks against that is going against the grain. I don't care who you are. You're going against the grain. Because if we had armed, militant defense in every major city, things like this could not happen at the same rate. If the police pulled up on the block and there's 20 armed black men saying, yo, we're not going to allow you to mistreat our people, they're going to think twice. If laws were changed that they know they would be prosecuted, they would think twice, because they can show restraint with other people. So we have to force them. We can't beg them, even though protests are necessary. That is a means. But we can't beg them. We demand that they stop. And if they don't, we have to be able to issue consequences. Whether it's blood or whether it's money. Let's check it out over here. Let's go to here's a cat, man, that's always been against the grain, right? Stephen A. Smith. Now, Stephen A. Smith is one of them soft shoe coons. He was against Kaepernick in the protest. He doesn't speak for us, but let's just see what this sucker has to say, man.
NFL season, which is slated to start September 10th.
I think that I don't think it's going to affect the NFL season, to be quite honest with you, because I don't think that the players in the National Football League are in the financial positions that the NBA players are. the cushion that a lot of NBA players have to walk away and be absolutely fine without their quality of life being severely compromised. I don't think most NFL players have that luxury.
Now let's just think about that. The first thing he's saying right here is money. I get it. You got to be able to live. But damn it, if you're an NFL player, you have enough. And what's the amount of money that you need before you can stand up against your people being killed in the streets every day? Huh? How much money do you need before you can say, hey, this ain't cool, and I'm going to use my influence collectively with others in order to make a statement? See, there's people on the grassroots level every day who have to work 10, 12-hour day jobs, still get out there to handle business, still put into the community from their own pocket. So I don't want to hear no bullshit about they don't have enough money in the NFL. See, that's that soft shoe shit. That's him saying like, yo, those of us that have access to a lot of money, we don't want that bag cut off. So, they're going to be like me and not say shit and soft shoe and coon and say what people want to hear rather than what the fucking truth is and what people are really feeling. Because we don't give a damn about how much money the NFL players don't have to be able to make a statement. At this point, we've seen enough. We've seen that these NFL, NBA, all these owners, they don't give a fuck. They want the money. They'll pretend they're with us, but they want the money. And then they're going to pressure the players to act accordingly to what's going to benefit their bag. But on the real, at this point in time, well, it is being developed, though. I'll say that. But it needs to be accelerated and supported. You see, right now, what we have going on with all these NFL teams and NBA teams that are, listen, we could have our own league, man. We could take it back to the Negro baseball leagues, Negro basketball league, Negro football league. So that's what's so epic about what Ice Cube is doing with his 3-on-3, because that's something that doesn't directly compete with the NBA, but it's another outlet, not just for young players to get on, but for, us to be able to support a black league. And who's going to watch the NBA if there ain't no black players? So people have to start thinking in this collective mentality and understand that a lot of these celebrities, they've been, especially these athletes, they've been playing ball since they were knee-high to a fly. They're not as hip as some of us with the political protocol of such a movement. So it's up to us to educate them. So we don't bash them, although we do hold them accountable for what they say. But our real job is to educate them, because this education has been happening for years and now it's starting to pick up. This is I just started this YouTube channel because my other one got shut down. And I do have some of those videos, but all those videos were speaking about what's going to happen in the future. And now this is where we're at. So it's a good thing that I could see that a lot of people are picking up on the conversations that we've been having on the grassroots, because now it's starting to be amplified to higher realms to reach more people. And now the Marcus Garvey principles, the Elijah Muhammad principles, the Huey P. Newton principles, the Malcolm X principles are becoming mainstream, because those are indeed the solutions. These other cake cutter solutions that people have been trying to push don't work. And we have known this for decades. Now everyone knows this. So now we could pivot towards what we should be doing. So even though, as I'm about to show you in a minute, the NBA backtracked, and I guess now they're going to start playing, it ain't over yet. We don't accept defeat. We're going to keep pushing. And we're going to let them know, look, man, let them know through social media, nah, go back to that boycott. Make them lose that bag, especially the teams in Milwaukee or Wisconsin, I think. Wisconsin? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, Wisconsin. Especially, in that area. Fuck it. Because when you disrupt their bag, they're going to start maneuvering. When they know they're about to lose a lot of money, then they're going to start making concessions, and, they're going to push because they have the influence. See, these NFL, NBA owners have influence in high places with politicians, governors, and whatnot. And they can help fast line solutions and a proper response and concessions on our behalf. And that's the pressure that we have and that we have to use properly. So check this out. I'm going to close this up, but we're going to go ahead and go through this story because this is the curveball before I went live when I was doing a little bit of research that I seen that was, disappointing. So NFL players to end boycott, resume playoffs with plan for improved ways to make social justice statements. So apparently with, and the NBA has been doing this as far as opening up the expression level of players and allow them to express, which is very important because I know I was watching a game not too long ago with my dad, and I noticed that, some of the players had Black Lives Matter or liberation or justice and stuff like that on the back of their jerseys. That's cool because that's elevating that message and that sentiment. And whatever else they're going to do with these new concessions, I don't know. But what I do know is that we do need continuous progress. Let me go. Let's do this. So the Bucks' decision to boycott Wednesday's game against the Magic didn't just create a domino effect throughout the NBA. It caused a movement across several professional sports leagues in the United States. In addition to 3 NBA playoff games that were postponed following Milwaukee's boycott, multiple MLB, MLS, and WNBA games were put on hold as athletes voiced their anger, sadness, and frustration following the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It's clear players are fed up with the lack of real action from those in power, and they should be fed up. Because remember, these are people who have cousins, people who have brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, spouses, kids, nieces, nephews. That it could easily be one of their family members or friends or someone they know. So they're in a position that, we have to push them to use that position properly. But they're not the movement. We are the movement. Never forget that. Now, there's one big question hanging over the NBA. What happens next? Here's everything we know so far about the player boycott based on the latest reporting and what could happen next. Why did the Bucks decide to boycott Wednesday's game? A video released Sunday night showed Blake, a 29-year-old black man, being shot multiple times in the back by police officers as he attempted to get into his SUV. Blake's 3 children, ages 3, 5, and 8, were reportedly inside the vehicle. They're shooting us down in front of our kids. You've seen the same thing with Philando Castillo. They're not giving any fucks. So there's no way that we can compromise on what justice means, which means police reform, which means defund the police so we can allocate those funds towards grassroots organizations that are effective and have been effective operating with nothing. Okay, let me see here. Blake family attorney Ben Crump said Blake is paralyzed and it would take a miracle for him to walk again. See, there's different ways that could have been handled. So no, we can't compromise. We want justice, and we're going to do whatever it takes. We have to sustain this protest. Remember that in the 60s, the sacrifice that they made was incredible. When they did that bus boycott, people walked miles to work for over a year until shit changed. That's the same type of tenacity and discipline that we have to sustain these movements. We have to keep pushing. Right now we have leverage. If we stop now, they'll know what the threshold is for us, and they'll be able to play with that. So no, we want justice and we want it now. We want this shit to stop. We want it now. And if you won't stop it, we will, whatever that means. More than 3 hours after the Bucks were scheduled to start Game 5 of their first round series against the Magic, Milwaukee players delivered a message demanding accountability. Bucks guard Sterling Brown and George Hill read a team statement to the media members outside the team's locker room Wednesday night that called for Wisconsin state legislators to take up meaningful measures to address issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform. Let's hear it.
As you can see, we all thank you guys for taking upon your time to stay here with us. We're sorry that it took a little bit more time, but we thought it would be best for us as a team to brainstorm a little bit, educate ourselves, and not rush into having raw emotion, giving you guys things like that. So On behalf of ourselves and our team, we're going to place a statement as a team today and go back and continue to educate ourselves and get better awareness of what's going on, and then speak to you guys later. So we'll come up with a statement now.
Team statement. The past 4 months have shed a light on the ongoing racial injustices facing our African American community. Citizens around the country have used their voices and platforms to speak out against these wrongdoings. Over the last few days in our home state of Wisconsin, we've seen the horrendous video of Jacob Blake being shot in the back 7 times by a police officer in Kenosha, and the additional shooting of protesters. Despite the overwhelming plea for change, there has been no action. So our focus today cannot be on basketball.
When we take the court and represent Milwaukee and Wisconsin, we are expected to play at a high level, give maximum effort, and hold each other accountable. We hold ourselves to that standard, and in this moment, we are demanding the same from lawmakers and law enforcement. We are calling for justice for Jacob Blake and demand the officers be held accountable. For this to occur, it is imperative for the Wisconsin State Legislature to reconvene after months of inaction and take up meaningful measures to address issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform. We encourage all citizens to educate themselves, take peaceful and responsible action, and remember to vote on November 3rd on behalf of the Milwaukee Bucks.
All right. So I mean, if you ask me, I believe that the players are they are sincere. But it takes support, man. Not everybody is built for making a sacrifice, and sometimes you have to push them to do that. Push them to do what's right. Let them know that the support is there for them to do what's right, and let them know that there are consequences for not doing what's right. But I do believe they're sincere. And let me just address the fact that particular moment in time, we have more. Let them do it, because we've supported many of their movements, so they owe us this. So allow them to do that. That gives us more leverage. So we just heard that statement. So the NBA and the National Basketball Players Association announced the postponement of 3 playoff games: Magic versus Bucks, Thunder versus Rockets, Trailblazers versus Lakers, scheduled to be played Wednesday shortly after the Bucks decided to boycott Game 5. The league said each game will be rescheduled, but no makeup dates have been announced. So that means that there is a period in time right now that we should be on social media, hashtagging all kind of shit, sharing our, letting them know how we feel, that we want them to sustain that boycott. Yeah, they can make some secessions, allow this and that, but no. That boycott is necessary because people's bags have to be affected, because then they'll make concessions. See, the players, I hate to say it, but they're slaves. High paid, but slaves nonetheless. They're on the courts, they're on the field, they have owners. They could only maneuver a certain kind of way before they get backlash. But nah, that dynamic has to change, because who makes the money? See, they have to see their power. Same way we have to see our power and assert it, they have to be empowered to do the same. And one way they will be empowered is if we support them and push them to do the right thing. Not to lead us, but we are the leaders. So let me see here. Milwaukee's decision, which was reportedly sparked by a Hill-led pregame discussion, caught the rest of the NBA off guard, including the team's front office. Still, the Bucks' 3 principal team owners, Mark Leslie, Wes Edens, and Jamie Denon, released a joint statement Wednesday night saying they fully support the players' decision. Of course, they're going to say that, but then back in the back room, they want them to get back out there on that court to make them that money. And since there's going to be a delay, but when these games start and there's no date for that, perhaps this is a bluff, or perhaps there's time now to increase the pressure and make them respond to our needs and our desires and our demands. So although we did not know beforehand, we would have wholeheartedly agreed with them. They wrote, the only way to bring about change is to shine a light on the racial injustices that are happening in front of us. Our players have done that, and we will continue to stand alongside them and demand accountability and change. But we can't allow those words just to be words. We have to make them own those words, whether they want to or not. So how the NBA players react. After it became clear games would not be held Wednesday, multiple reports emerged indicating players would hold a meeting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to discuss the state of the season. Coaches were in attendance as well, but they were asked to leave at one point. A few a few key items from that meeting. Players talked about voting and police reform and what team owners must do in order for the preseason to proceed, according to Sports Illustrated, who also noted members of the Bucks and Raptors were particularly outspoken during the meeting. The Clippers and Lakers voted to boycott the season per multiple reports through ESPN. Adrian Wojnarowski clarified these votes were part of an informal poll. Every other team voted to continue play, according to the Shams Athletics Shams Charania, whatever. There was reportedly frustration on how the Bucks handled the boycott, and some players wanted an explanation for why they didn't alert other teams of their decision. Celtics forward Jaylen Brown, however, supported the Bucks and said they didn't need to explain shit. Paraphrasing. Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James were adamant about not finishing the playoffs, according to Brad Turner of the Los Angeles Times. James reportedly left the meeting early and was followed by the rest of the Lakers and Clippers. Michelle Roberts, the executive director of the NBPA, laid out the financial ramifications of boycotting the season, including the possibility of owners terminating the collective bargaining agreement and future lockout. So that's what it is right there. So in public, these owners are saying, yeah, we totally support it, but then they're using the fact that they can cancel the collective bargaining agreement as leverage to get them back on the court, because that's all they really care about. But the NBA players have to make a decision, because guess what? If collectively enough of the big people, the people who draw the most money to the NBA, the LeBron James, for instance, decide, nah, we ain't going back. We'll figure out how to stay, how to keep our money up, but we ain't going back until blah 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 blah. That would work. That would work. Yeah, they could threaten the bag, but who has the biggest bag anyway? It's the owners. So who has the most to lose? It's the owners. We ain't got nothing to lose on this side. And that's how we had to play the game. But these are the kind of things that have, the education level has to be there. The support level has to be there. The communication has to be there. And when I mean communication, I mean from the grassroots to these players, to activists, to organizers, to politicians, to police, to whoever needs to hear that message. So here we go. The meeting ended around 11 p.m. Eastern Time, but it's unclear how much was accomplished. A source told the Athletics' David Aldridge the meeting ended ugly, and there were uncertainty about what would happen Thursday. Today is Thursday. So, I mean, it looks like, there's discussions going on, and there's people who agree, people who don't. People who are probably influenced by the fact that they need that bag, people who understand what time it is and what must be done. People who are misled by the false sentiments of some of the owners, and those who understand what it is. So what we have to do is empower those who understand what it is so they can influence those who don't. And we have a collective movement. That is what's merging right now. So, of course, like I said before, anytime you see a movement that has the kind of progress these movements have been having, there's going to be resistance. People don't want change. There's going to be resistance. But that can't stop us. We got to keep pushing. And it should be expected. Because as rapidly as these things are happening, it's not going to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect movement. So for all these naysayers that always have something to say every time, we're collectively trying to do something, oh, that won't work, and this and that. Listen, man, there's no perfect revolution, which is complete and constructive change. It's not going to be perfect. So they may have jumped the gun in Milwaukee or whatever, the Milwaukee Bucks, when they said that boycott without saying anything to anybody. That might have been a hasty decision based on emotions, but that was an appropriate emotional response to say we're fed up. We don't feel like playing basketball right now. People are dying. Our people are being murdered. And they didn't feel like playing basketball. That's appropriate. Now, maybe because of the communication, so there wasn't a solid message, maybe it would have been more effective like that. However, in my opinion, everybody should have just jumped on code with that. But it's not going to be perfect. And that's what we got to remember. But our job is to perfect it. And that's what we do from the grassroots, because that's where real change happens. So one NBA player to me following the meeting. It was emotional, heated, doesn't look good right now, but we're all hoping that everyone will sleep on it and maybe we can figure it out tomorrow, because most of us still want to find a way to play. So naturally they want to find a way to play. So the juggling act right now is, yes, they want to play. That's what they do. That's what they love. That's what they've done their whole life. And it pays very well. But they also want the message to get out and not get lost, and they want, justice. And I have confidence, or let's just say I'm hopeful, optimistic, that enough of the key influencers in the NBA, the players that is, have enough influence and intelligence to be able to help to be able to navigate and guide others within their influence to do the right thing. Well, that's what we have to also push them to do, because we have the keys. The Garveyites, black nationalists, the activists, we have the keys. We understand to a level that some don't. So, it's our job to educate and to push them to do the right thing. So what are the next steps for the NBA and its players? The league's board of governors conducted an emergency call with the NBA commissioner Adam Silver at 11 a.m. Eastern time Thursday. So that would have been about 8 my time. So that was a few hours ago. Per multiple reports, the NBA players also had a meeting scheduled at that time. Wojnarowski reported at roughly noon on Thursday that players had decided to resume playing. The NBA players have decided. So James and other players reportedly changed positions after initially supporting a boycott of the season, saying it was in the best interest of the players' movement to resume the season. A major source of frustration in the Wednesday night meeting stemmed from players not being on the same page. So perhaps if they're on the same page, it would have been different. But look, it ain't too late. And, we have to just keep pushing it, because as you can see, the games, they're postponed, but nobody knows when they're going to resume. Tomorrow, possibly Saturday tomorrow, but guess what? Enough pressure could be put on that they decide to sustain the boycott or extend the postponement until certain demands are made and a statement has to be made. Like, the longer it goes on that they're not playing, the more pressure is built. So that's the move right now. Random thoughts of your highness. I just wanted to say that. Make sure you subscribe, like, let me know what you think as well. Check out some of the other videos in the playlist. Share this information. Look, if you are watching this, there's a likeliness that you are in some way involved in the movement, even if it's just from social media, even if it's just in sentiment. But everyone, just step your game up. Do the simple shit that you can do just to help these kind of messages get out. Use the social media as a tool, and that tool should be used like a hammer. You can destroy the current system in white supremacy, racism, whiteism, injustice, police brutality. We can use that hammer to destroy that, and we could also turn around and use that same hammer to build. So let's build.